Hi, good morning. My name is Danica Joan, and welcome to Custody Matters Live. Uh, Today's topic I'm talking about is unconditional gratitude, the access to real joy while you're in circumstances that don't seem to be changing and things that you don't really want. Is really to focus on being joyful in your circumstances and not focusing on not wanting your circumstances. A lot of times when we focus on what is in the here and now, one thing that you need to see is that what is in the here and now is the results of something that's happened from the past. So it's kind of like, when you're living in a house or a community that you really don't wish to be in. I mean, that's your circumstance. And you can sit there and react to that circumstance by being depressed or angry or frustrated or aggravated, but that doesn't really change your circumstance. In fact, focusing on that circumstance can cause you to the impact of your circumstances to be even more oppressive. So in shifting it over into custody situations, a lot of times, we don't like our circumstance. We don't like the fact that our child is we haven't seen our child in sometimes years, because it seems like we have no control over that circumstance. Or maybe it's not that we haven't seen our child, but our child is being trained to not like us. They're being alienated from us. Now that is a circumstance that is really hard to not focus on. However, it's something, it's kind of like building a muscle. We really have to train ourselves to shift our focus. It does take practice to focus on what is. I say focusing on what is focusing on the past. Focusing on what we are, creating, the possibility of, can really shift us into not only shift our attitude, but our attitude can actually generate that which we're hopeful to achieve. So in the next few days, I'm going to be traveling and working on a situation around a son of mine and his daughter, my granddaughter. And it's not the perfect circumstance. It's it could be considered conflict, high conflict, and yet I can sit there and focus on all the things that it's not. For one thing, she's so far away that I don't get to see her all the time. I don't really get full interaction with her like I would love to have. And then I have to look at my own child who's constrained in a disempowering circumstance. So what do? Do I further make it even more icky by focusing on that which I don't want? That's not going to get me what I want. Now, it's not like you're fooling yourself. You're trying to mask that which is, because a lot of times when we identify that what we don't want, it more solidifies what it is that we do want. So it's not bad to focus on the things that are just not right. It's kind of like, when you buy a house and, there's some peeling paint and, there's creaky doors and things like that. Those are the things that you don't want about the house. And if you, by identifying them, now you can start learning to, figuring out what you need to work on. But in the context of a house, I'm going to use the context of a house because that's unemotional kind of circumstance. You can start writing a list. of that which would make that house perfect and beautiful and bring you joy. So in your circumstance of a disempowering relationship with your co-parent, a disempowering relationship with your own child, or maybe no relationship with your own child, I say write it down. Write down all the things that seem to take your joy away about that relationship. And here's the other thing is, when we try to control something that we really don't have any control over, that in itself is disempowering. And by letting go and accepting the way things are and the way things aren't, that actually gives you the freedom and the breathing space to create something from nothing, something that you can't, there's no evidence to prove that it's even possible. Like a lot of times, we think about our co-parent, and we're like, well, our co-parent is stubborn, and our co-parent is never going to agree to this and this and this. Okay, write it down. But then we have to shift our view of it so that we have freedom. So maybe there's somebody, and then of course, whether it's our co-parent or our child, because our child exhibits a lot of the same kinds of personality traits that, from both sides. How would you shift it into a positive? Okay, so how would you shift stubbornness and resistance to change into an attribute? Maybe it's something that your child has, or could possibly a trait that they could have. How could you shift that into something positive? And I know it's really hard, especially if there's been nastiness and ugliness between each other and betrayal and things like that. But truly training yourself to view what's possible instead of, otherwise you're playing whack-a-mole. I love that analogy. Years ago, I used to teach elementary school. And when I came in with the possibility, like a fresh outlook on that day, even the difficult children didn't bother me, and things ran smoothly. And for some reason, those difficult children didn't create the havoc, that could have happened. However, when I go into my classroom thinking, oh my gosh, this is the day that student shows up, and oh my gosh, it's Friday afternoon and I know what happens on Friday, everybody gets crazy. By coming into that with that attitude, I'm exhausting myself all day long, just doing whack-a-mole on every misbehavior that I perceive to happen, such that you're so busy focused on all the things that are wrong, that the good things and the gifts and the joy can't even be seen. So that's what I have. That's what I have for you today. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. So the key to joy in your circumstances is unconditional gratitude. I didn't really talk about that. So what is unconditional gratitude? Well, let's focus on, what is conditional gratitude? And hi, Anne. Hi, Michael. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so unconditional gratitude or conditional gratitude is, wow, look at that sunset. It's so beautiful. Look at how much money I have in the bank. I'm just so happy. Look at, I think about all the things I have, all the circumstances that I have that I can be grateful for. That would be conditional, based on a condition that is here and now and provable. Unconditional gratitude is that which you do not have proof, evidence to validate your gratitude. Like, and a lot of times you can kind of create that in in your speech, because one thing to know is that your word does have the power, has a huge amount of power to create your circumstances. Okay, so speaking things into existence from no evidence has huge power. So unconditional gratitude. Let me think of an unconditional gratitude. Like I am just, I'm just full of joy and just in who I'm being, and I love it when oh goodness, just like I love oh gosh, see now that I'm here, I'm like my mind is blocked about unconditional gratitude, and there again, that's an indication that it is so easy to be joyful when you when there's evidence to prove your joy, and yet when there's nothing, there's a nothingness. Just it's really difficult to focus on that. Just being joyful. It's like who I am. Who I am is joy and love in the face of no agreement. Oh, here's an example. A lot of times, okay, so people who've being diagnosed with cancer. There are two types of people. There are people who now they have the evidence that proves that they have no power, they have no joy. There's like a dismal future for them because they have the evidence. They have the cancer. And then there's people who there's just a really interesting shift. It's like the moment that they've been diagnosed with something horrible, they shift to joy. And it is through that joy and that love and that appreciation for just life in general that has them not only get through the cancer treatment, but successfully become free of cancer. So how is that? Because all evidence would prove that you're justified in being disempowered. So, all right. So it's going to be an interesting week and a half for me because I'm going to be down in the trenches, in the battlefield of working hand in hand with one of my children in building bridges and harmony such that he can have an amazing future for his daughter. And of course, a little self-serving, I want an amazing relationship with my granddaughter. So that's that. I will keep you abreast to that, probably do a Facebook Live from my location and share a little bit with you. So have a great rest of the week, and I hope to see you on the chat.